You're listening to the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Now, let's move on and talk about Group B. And Group B obviously has Australia and England as the full member countries. Let's talk about Group B and talk about obviously Australia and England's chances of winning this T20 World Cup. Obviously, two former winners of the T20 World Cup. So we'll start off with Australia, and their captain is Mitchell Marsh. They've won a T20 World Cup. That was back in 2021. And back in the 2022 T20 World Cup, Australia didn't qualify for the semi-finals. They finished in the Super 12s. And it was a bit of a disappointing campaign at home for Australia in the 2022 T20 World Cup for Australia. So Australia, going into this tournament, they are the favourites to win. You can't deny that. You can't discount them. Obviously, the 2022 T20 World Cup, as I mentioned, was a bit of a poor T20 World Cup for Australia. Obviously, it was at home. It was a year after they won the 2021 T20 World Cup in the UAE. And they didn't quite perform at their best. So they'll be hoping that this T20 World Cup in 2024 in the Caribbean and the US will definitely help them in terms of performing better and really challenging, to win this T20 World Cup. The squad that they've selected is a very strong squad, obviously full of experience. You've got World Cup winners who won, two 50-over World Cups in 2023 last year and 2015, the likes of Mitchell Marsh, Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood, Maxwell, Warner. They were a part of those two. Travis Head as well, Marcus Stoinis, Josh Inglis, Cameron Green as well, who were a part of that World Cup winning side last year. And also a few of them were a part of that World Cup winning side in 2015. Also, you've got members who were a part of the 2021 T20 World Cup win as well. Obviously, Samper, Agar, Wade, Marsh, Cummins, Josh Hazelwood, Matthew Wade, Stoinis, Stark, Maxwell, Warner, and Zampa. So, as I said before, it's a squad that's full of World Cup winners and experience, and that puts you in good stead going into big tournaments. And Australia know how to win tournaments. They know how to fight from adversity when their backs are against the wall. They always produce good performances. We saw that last year in the 50-over World Cup in 2023. We saw them, lose the first two games to India and South Africa, and then they came back and they won the whole thing. So they know how to win World Cups. That's for sure. That's for sure. Very capable of doing that again in 2024. Mitchell Marsh as captain. Mitchell Marsh, obviously everyone loves him in the Australian team. He's a good team guy, gets the best out of his teammates, and everyone loves Mitchell Marsh. Obviously, it's good to see Mitchell Marsh. It's been a very exciting year for Mitchell Marsh over the last few months, obviously coming back to the test side during the Ashes and scoring that 100. What he's done, obviously the World Cup last year as well, and now captain of this T20 side. It's good to see Mitchell Marsh, who's copped a lot of stick over his career, as we all know, finally full circle and leading his side in the T20 World Cup is a great thing for Mitchell Marsh. And, he's in good touch over the last couple of months to a year. So him as leader, I think was a good choice. Obviously, you don't want to burden Pat Cummins with the responsibility of captain. Obviously, Pat did a good job in the World Cup last year and doing a good job in the test format as well. So you don't really want to burden him too much. So selecting Mitchell Marsh was the obvious choice. He has done it before for Western Australia and the Perth Scorchers in the Big Bash. So it was a pretty good choice to have him as the skipper. So, with him at the helm, obviously Pat Cummins will definitely help Marsh. So having that combination of Marsh and Cummins, and obviously senior players in the side will definitely help out Mitchell Marsh and definitely help out him in terms of the captaincy. And, during this tournament, he will be tested if Australia do find their backs up against the wall. But, no doubt he's got capable help from the team in terms of Cummins and senior players. Obviously, no Steve Smith. Steve Smith wasn't selected. I don't think that was a surprise by anyone that Steve Smith was omitted from this T20 squad. Obviously, T20 cricket's probably gone past Steve Smith now. Probably doesn't suit his game. Obviously, with the batting that Australia has, even if they did select Steve Smith, where are you gonna put him? That's been the case. We know that Australia have been experimenting with Smith at the top of the order, opening the batting. But seeing that Travis Head's been doing well, and obviously they've selected David Warner. There was talk about Jake Freese and McGurk being in the squad. Obviously now he's a reserve. Australia have got, many batters they can choose from. And really for Smith, maybe he's probably admitted it himself, maybe that, probably my T20 days are over. So I don't think it was a big surprise that Steve Smith was left out. It doesn't really change much, really. It's still a pretty good squad, even without Smith. He was a part of the T20 World Cups in 2021 when Australia won, and 2022 when the tournament was in Australia. Obviously, Travis Head, Pat Cummins, Mitchell Starc performing well in the IPL recently. I think Cameron Green, Glenn Maxwell, David Warner didn't have great IPLs from their point of view. So for Australia, they'll be delighted that Head and Cummins and obviously Starc are doing well of late, following their T20 World Cup form. Obviously, Travis Head scored 1 million runs for the Sunrisers Hyderabad in that IPL, which was a very run-heavy sort of IPL season. Pat Cummins was captain of the Sunrisers Hyderabad and led them to an IPL final. No surprise that Pat does it again. And obviously Mitchell Starc paid a lot of money, Kolkata Knight Riders, for him in the IPL, and he delivered, certainly in the final when they needed it. And certainly for Australia, that will be good if he can continue on that form. So definitely for Australia, they should be pretty optimistic of qualifying from the group stage. They're in a group that they should top the group or should finish second. Obviously, they've got England in the group along with Oman and Scotland and Namibia. The game against England will be key in terms of whether or not Australia will top the group or finish second. And that game will pretty much decide who finishes on top. But besides from that, they should qualify for the Super 8s, and they should qualify, to the semi-finals potentially. And then, who knows from there, anything can happen. But they are more than capable of winning this tournament. So pretty much for Australia, they're a good chance to win. They know how to win World Cups. I wouldn't put it past them to win this T20 World Cup either. And I think a lot of people will be wary of Australia in this tournament. I really do think that will be the case. I think everyone will be wary of them, as you would, because they play some good cricket. So we'll have to wait and see what happens as the tournament progresses. But as I said, they've got a good team. In terms of the batting, it's very strong. The bowling's capable of doing some damage. And they've got a very strong squad, full of experience, full of match winners, full of World Cup winners. And that's what you need really in World Cups. You need that experience, and it serves you well. And hopefully that will be the case for Australia to win their second T20 World Cup and become the first team to hold the T20 World Cup, the World Cup, and the World Test Championship all at the same time. And, I think this Australian team, and I think the Australian setup, obviously, over the last year or so, dominating, obviously retaining the Ashes, the World Test Championship, the World Cup. This will be pretty much the cherry on top of the cake if they can, win this tournament. And, really sums up how dominant Australia are in World Cups. They just keep winning World Cups. They just can't stop. But, Australia definitely can't put it past them to win this T20 World Cup. So if you're an Australian supporter, I think you'll be very confident inside that the Australian team can make it all the way in 2024. Hi, everyone. Make sure you subscribe to the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast YouTube channel and click the bell so you don't miss out on all our episodes and live streams from this ICC T20 World Cup for 2024. If you're watching or listening to this episode on YouTube, let us know in the comments your thoughts on how Australia will go in this ICC T20 World Cup for 2024. We would love to hear what you have to say.